Second grade, it's good to be back with you again for another science lesson. Hope everybody's doing okay. I miss seeing you guys. So before I start my lesson, I want to give a couple shout outs to some of the things that were posted on our Padlets. It's so great seeing everybody's work posted there. In Mr. Bennett's room, I want to give a shout out to Daniel when he went on his pollination walk. He used a pollinator field guide from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. And with that field guide, he was able to go on a pollinator safari, go on a flower quest, and learn about the life cycle of a caterpillar. Will, you saw bees, spiders, and wind, and you even saw a spider get blown away by the wind. I couldn't help but wonder where that spider ended up. In Mrs. Boland's class, Elizabeth, you saw lots of flowers on your walk, and you were even able to put your finger in a flower and touch some pollen. You heard wind blowing through grass, and as we all know, wind is also a pollinator. In my class, Dominic, you saw bees and butterflies pollinating pink flowers that were in front of your house. And Gavin, you got to take a walk near the river where you saw butterflies, bees, and even a catbird sitting on a plant. Gavin, you also did the enrichment project of making the helicopter. I loved that picture. In Miss Nossick's class, Alyssa, you saw bees, birds, and butterflies. And Ness and Ashton, you both showed us great pictures of the process of pollination. So before I get to today's lesson, I want to review what we did last week. Last week I read the book to you, Mariana Becomes a Butterfly. And in that book, we learned about a little girl named Mariana who had a plant growing in her garden that a friend of hers had brought back from Hawaii to her. It was an ohalo plant, and this plant produced berries. But what Mariana noticed over time was that the plant stopped producing berries, and she couldn't figure out why. So she talked to her tia Letty, her Aunt Letty, who was an agricultural engineer, about her plant, and her aunt invited her to where she worked. When she got to where her aunt worked, she saw all kinds of plants everywhere, and her aunt figured out together that the plant wasn't being pollinated because there were no insects or animals that lived where Mariana lived that could pollinate the plant. They couldn't get into the plant to get the pollen. So Mariana came up with the idea, with the help of her plant, that she would need to create a hand pollinator. So this plant was not native to where Mariana lived. It didn't grow there naturally. It's what we call an invasive species. It's brought in from somewhere else. And agricultural engineers work all the time with having to deal with native and invasive species and trying to figure out what they can do. So what we're going to do today, I'm excited about this, you guys are going to create your own hand pollinator. So I'm going to start off, I want to show you a model of the engineering design process. We call it the EDP. And so there are several steps that you need to follow in the EDP. The first step is the ask step. That's where you're identifying a problem. Mariana identified her problem. Nothing could pollinate her plant, so she was going to have to create her own hand pollinator. After you've identified your problem, you've asked your question, what do I need to do? Then you're going to imagine. You're going to brainstorm ideas. How can you solve your problem? And you're going to choose the best idea. After you have imagined, you're going to plan out what you're going to do. And this would be where you draw a diagram and gather the materials that you need for this. Then you're going to create your hand pollinator. You're going to follow your plan, and you're going to get a chance to test it. Hopefully you can go outside and find some flowers where you can put your hand pollinator in and pull it out and see if you get pollen on it. But if you can't do that, use something you have at home, like baking soda or powder. Use that with your hand pollinator. Put your hand pollinator in it and see if you can gather pollen. And then once you've tested it, you're not done. you're going to try to improve. You're going to think, what can I do to make this better? And you're going to improve it and test it again. So let's review your job. You're going to create a hand pollinator using materials you have around your house. Think of things like pencil erasers, Q-tips, paintbrush, even an old toothbrush. You're going to use materials you have. You're going to create a hand pollinator. You're going to actually test it, and then you're going to record your results on the Padlet. So I can't wait to see your hand pollinators. Have a good time. See you next week. Bye.